Well, I was just doodling here for a second as I was waiting for the clock to turn to 10 o'clock. Anyway, isn't that a fine likeness? Good morning, everyone. Good Thursday, Ascension Thursday, uh, which, what can I say? Somebody said it was the day Jesus started to work from home, which I think is pretty cool. But, yeah, no matter, what your belief system is or anything, usually the landmark holy days of anybody's religion is worthy of projecting metaphorically upon your own spiritual adventure. An Ascension Day in the sequence of events in the Christian mythos uh, is a pretty amazing thing. It's also one of the most unbelievable, embarrassingly unbelievable uh, articles of faith, at least in my opinion, which reminds me of my own youth. Everything reminds me of my own youth. It's a symptom of someone who never grows up. I'm going to read to you from the early chapters of My Life with the Spirits. Okay. And it's chapter 5, and it's called Altar Boy. And I'm going to share it with you right now. Maybe some of you have had similar experiences with Protestantism, American Protestantism. Lonnie, do you believe in Jesus? Reverend Alan Kastner squeezed the new black Bible in both hands like it was an overstuffed sandwich. That Bible was mine. I earned it. I squirmed through 2 tedious years of Sunday school and survived the most obscene and evil form of legalized child abuse ever devised. Vacation Bible School. I passed their examinations. I got up before dawn every Sunday to sing in the children's choir at the early service. On Saturday mornings, while my friends were playing Army or watching Sky King on TV, I sat alone in the musty and haunted 100-year-old chapel and mindlessly folded the next day's bulletins and responsive readings. Did I believe in Jesus? Didn't I dress up like a cherub each Sunday and march down the aisle bearing the sacred flame? Didn't I start each 11 a.m. service by enkindling the massive candles upon the altar that signified the living presence of God? And who was it that ended each service by solemnly extinguishing the candles with a long brass snuffer? Me! That's who. Did I believe in Jesus? Did I believe in Jesus? Hell no. I didn't believe in Jesus, but I earned that goddamn Bible. Now, standing before the altar of God in front of my parents and the entire congregation, I was going to have to lie to get it. Yes, sir. I was 9 years old and at last a full-fledged Christian. Reverend Allen looked like he was going to cry. He handed me my prize and put his hand on my shoulder and turned me toward the congregation. "How old are you, Lonnie?" "9. "Do you say your prayers at night?" "Yes, sir." This was not a lie, for I prayed fervently every night, but not to Jesus, not to God. Each night, as I stared out of my window into the beautiful Nebraska sky, I tearfully prayed to space aliens or any superior intelligence in the universe who could hear my plea. Get me out of Nebraska. Take me to California. Take me anywhere. You can perform medical experiments on me. I don't care. Get me out of here. Friends, this is our candle lighter, Lonnie DuQuette. You may not recognize him without his little white gown. Laughter. And his torch and snuffer. More laughter. Lonnie also sings in the carol choir and comes in on Saturdays to fold our bulletins. We're all sure he's going to grow to be a man of God.
Well, it didn't hurt you one bit.
It didn't hurt me one bit. Yes. Yes, dear. He then gently pushed me back toward my pew with a hearty, "God bless you, Lonnie." What the dear man didn't know was that even though I was the virginal innocent who started and ended each service, I seldom stayed to hear his sermons. Each Sunday, after lighting the candles at the 11 o'clock service, I rushed back to the vestry, stripped out of my chasuble, and slipped out the side door. With my Timex watch strapped tightly to my impious wrist, I ran at top speed across the street, past the ancient bandstand and the towering elms in Frankfurt Square, straight to the soda fountain of Thule's drugstore.
I know every step of that.
Constance can see it in her mind's eye, the whole town.
Every crack in the sidewalk.
There, after catching my breath, I lingered over my own Eucharist, a tuna salad sandwich with an unforgettable home-canned bread and butter pickle and a cherry phosphate. I knew what heaven was. After my sandwich, I had just enough time to browse a comic book or two before rushing back to church to close the service. Incidentally, that drugstore was the equivalent of the best bookstore in town. It had weird, strange kind of books and magazines and stuff. It had Fate, not Fate, it did have Fate magazine, but it also had Fact magazine. And Constance, what books did you get there?
I got Black Like Me and Watermelon Man and some classics.
You couldn't get those. And I guess there's a couple of people in town that actually read those books. So Constance being one of them. But I digress. I paid for this weekly orgy with the winnings from a weekly craps game I organized before Sunday school in the church basement. My father had been kind enough to teach me the rules to this venerable game, and I easily attracted a pool of easy marks, their pockets bulging with cash that would otherwise be destined for the offering plate. Predictably, the game was finally raided, and my bones confiscated by George Sorensen. Now, that's not his real name. Constance and I know his real name.
Yes, we do.
But for the book, George Sorensen, a racist, construction mogul, and spiritual exhibitionist who had bullied his way into the position of Sunday school headmaster.
And philanderer. Town philanderer.
Town philanderer. Each week before the individual classes adjourned to their respective cells, he taught the General Assembly of all the grades in the large common room. Here we drank deeply from the fountain of his bigoted wisdom, learning why people who lived before Jesus, including Adam, Eve, Abraham, and Socrates, were burning in hell, and why blacks had to work for white people because Noah's grandson saw him naked.
What?
Made perfect sense to George Sorensen, I guess. On the morning of my arrest, he strutted to the front of the assembly and held up my precious green dice in front of all the students and bellowed. "These evil dice was brung into God's house by one of your own classmates to steal God's money. I bet he thinks it's real funny. I tell you one thing, God don't think it's funny. I ain't going to tell you who done this. He knows who he is. And God knows who he is." Then with a dramatic sweep of his hand, he hurled the dice into the trash can and added dramatically, "All I can say is, I'll pray for him." As much as I despised George, if their religion won't let 'em eat cows, why don't them godless Hindus start eating all them monkeys they got jumping around India? Sorensen, I loved Reverend Allen. I admired his youthful enthusiasm and positive attitude. He had a beautiful young wife that I fantasize what life must be like in the rectory. He preached no hell fire and made it seem like it should be fun to be a Methodist, whether you believed in God or not. I was so comfortable with his brand of religion that even though I was a secret unbeliever, I told my parents I wanted to be a Methodist minister when I grew up. Even my free-thinking father attended service each week to show his support for this dynamic man who was sent by the bishop to build our new church. He built the new church, all right. Predictably, the building contractor was George. If they ain't been baptized, then they're burning in hell, even if they are just little babies. Sorensen.
Also, overcharged for extremely shoddy workmanship. Sorensen.
And Constance's father knew that for sure because he built houses. Yes, he was a price gouger, but we don't speak ill. Oh, yes, we do. Excuse me. Unfortunately, before the erection of the new church was completed, his 12-year-old daughter walked in on him playing Adam and Eve with Reverend Allen's wife in the new church annex. The scandal shocked the town and forced the Kastners to move away. My father stopped going to church. I continued to serve under the next pastor and the next one and the next one. After a short vacation, George Sorensen resumed his job as Sunday school headmaster. All I can say is, I'll pray for him.
I'm sure they blame the pastor's wife.
Yes, I'm sure she was totally blameless. Anyway, do you have anything to add to that memoir
No,
of our hometown?
I just was, for 5 minutes I had nothing to do and I could see it all.
So, the next chapter is called Holy Communion, and I think I will share that with you tomorrow. I'll give you a fair
Sunday
one.
School.
Huh?
Or Sunday school.
Oh, I could save it for Sunday school. Anyway, very late tonight, or I guess it would be early tomorrow morning, I begin sort of a marathon workshop schedule for my students in China. So I'm going to be crazy, sleep deprived, and
Full of inspiration.
and full of inspiration for the next week or so. But I still look forward to being with you every morning here at 10 o'clock. So if I'm conscious. So until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love under will.
See you tomorrow.